As much as I love some of my fellow Star Wars YouTubers, there are some familiar circles that I simply cannot run through at this time. Some have rebranded their channels, good for them. Others have found success in attacking Disney at every turn. All right, that's what you want to go for. But others still seem to have focused their animosity on the fans that they once stood side by side with, as if those fans themselves are responsible for Disney putting out a show that they don't particularly like. Opposite of what the name of this channel suggests, we are not delving into the darkness or giving into any hatred. We are Star Wars philosophers here on this channel. We think rationally through our opinions, whether positive or negative. Now, I have a lot of negative to say about Obi-Wan Kenobi, but I choose to celebrate what we received with peace, rather than attack out of blind fear. Because we all know fear leads to anger, anger leads to hate, and hate leads to suffering. But does that kind of thinking nowadays make me a Disney shill? Hello, and welcome to Coffee on Korriban. Hello, and welcome back to the show. And like my guest said backstage, shill, 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 give me the money, show me the money. And so obviously the answer is no. I'm not a Disney shill. I'm not being paid by Disney or getting any special perks from them. But it's funny that there seem to be some Star Wars fans, supposed super fans, that are so vengeful in attacking everyone else and trying to militantly convince them that they are not allowed to enjoy Star Wars. It baffles me. So first, before we get into anything, let's get to the comment of the week. And I think I actually have two, because Israel Garcia was also last week's comment of the week. He says, so much about this episode felt right. That's the best way I can think to describe it. I spent so much time during it just smiling at the experience. And the kind of the phrase going around the last couple of weeks is, watch it like you were an 11-year-old. And I felt that exact same way. It just there was so much that felt right. It's easy when you're in that mindset to overlook the flaws, the janky lightsaber duels in some of the scenes, just all the stuff that a lot of other people get caught up on. Just don't worry about it. Enjoy it. Have fun. Not a lot of people like to look at it that way, but that's really the best way to watch it. And then the second quote of the week was from Charlie. He said, I had so many onion ninjas attacking my eyes. In this, we were in a watch party and we were all in happy tears acting. Hayden and Ewan were amazing. My high ground hype was not let down. Yeah, I teared up, to be honest. Actually had some tears dropping the second time I watched it, just realizing how much that moment meant in their final confrontation, and it was glorious. But I'm going to bring in my guests here. First one, you know him, you better love him, and if you're not subscribed to him, what are you doing? Mr. Matcave.
Hello, sir.
Welcome.
Hello there.
How are you?
Good, man.
Awesome. First off, initial thoughts on Kenobi.
Overall, I really fell in love with the series. And like you said, like I have my own issues here and there with it. Which I'm always happy to go over and everything. But overall, I had a good time. And like Charlie said in his comment, like just especially those last two episodes, I'm just smiling. Like it's these, it was about the moments. So yeah, I really enjoyed it overall.
Sweet. Well, I want to get the opinion of our second guest. And if you don't know him and you're not subscribed, same with Matcave, please do, because subscribing to someone's channel costs you nothing but the occasional video popping up in your newsfeed. But to someone else, it means a whole lot. I forgot to play your stinger. I'm so sorry. Get back out of here. Get out of here. I'm trying.
I have people in the chat. You just embarrassed me. I'm bringing people. Hey, Gilk, man. What's up, baby?
Hello, and welcome to Coffee on Korriban. Here's a special sip for you because I don't believe I've seen you before. This is for
like,
you.
like Gilk Man's wonderful, wonderful guy.
Awesome.
Hello, everyone. Hello.
Welcome.
Yeah, good to be hanging with you two gents. Oh, look at Father Time.
Yep, Father Time. I'll send you a link a little later in the show if you want to join if you're free. But yeah, your initial overall thoughts on the Kenobi series.
On the Kenobi series was pretty decent. I'd say there's a couple of great episodes. There's a few that I had problems with. Yeah, I thought it started and ended on a high note.
Awesome. Well, it's funny because even someone with a really reasonable position such as yours, I would call you somewhat of a moderate in regards to the response for this show. But even you would be called a shill by some people nowadays. It really astounds me.
No, I was really interested in coming on because I went through the gauntlet last week. I had no idea what was going on, but my boy Chris Gore asked me to come on the show, and I was like, "Oh yeah, sure." And it was about Kenobi episode 6, and I was called. I had to stop looking at the chat. I had even Zach's, who's a mod there, and this is not anything on my boy Chris because he's a gentleman. We had a great time disagreeing. But even Zach's was saying, avoid your, what did he say? Avert your eyes.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was crazy what people were like. They basically said I had an office next to Kathleen Kennedy.
Wow.
It goes to a lot of extremes, man. It gets
crazy.
It's just so weird. I don't get it.
I do, and then I don't. Right? That's the whole thing. Is that I like you said, I'm in the middle. I'll go back and forth, but ultimately, and some guy was like, I don't like him. He's always positive and happy. And I wanted curse. I want to curse right now, right? Because I want to be like, F you.
Well, I completely get it, and for me, the channel name is Coffee on Korriban. Yeah. That's the Sith homeworld. I'm supposed to be in that camp, I guess.
But it's a deep cut.
Yeah. Actually, I was at the an alignment shop the other day. I had to go get an alignment, and I told the guy hey, I have a vibration. It's wearing weird. I'm pretty sure that it's toe in on one side or something. The guy's like, oh, well, let me look at your car. He walks out. And he points to I have a Coffee on Korriban sticker on the side of my car. He's like, what is that? I was like, oh, it's a YouTube channel. He's like, is that the homeworld of the Sith from KOTOR? I'm like, yes.
That's dope.
Thank you. And so he subscribed, and I think he commented on one of my last videos, which is really cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Guildman says, just subscribe to the channel. I really appreciate it. I greatly do. Working towards 1,000, ever so slowly, but we're getting there. Kenobi definitely helped. We're finally past 800, which is good.
Well, Thomas has been around the fandom. He's an OG. So for him to come here, that's really cool. And I always value his opinions because he's very much is an original thinker.
Right.
And, he's one of the good ones. Love. I always love it when he comes by my live streams.
Awesome. Well, that's good to know. And Gilman, again, welcome to the channel. I always appreciate rational input. Even if someone were to come on my channel and say, I absolutely hated Kenobi, but give, legitimate reason why, and rationalize their position. I value that. I welcome that. And I'm a very political person as well. Even in political discourse, I try not to involve that on my channel. But in personal life, I like engaging in that when people are thoughtful enough to rationalize their position. So that's very valuable. Let's read this comment real quick. He says, I watched Kenobi. I thought there were some really good episodes, but then some really bad episodes. What I liked about it is it brought me back into the universe that I enjoyed. Absolutely. My favorite thing about Star Wars, and the most important thing for me, above the action, the characters, even the story, is the world building, the immersion. Does it feel like Star Wars? And that's a really subjective thing. Yeah, it's subjective. That's right. Not objective. It's a really subjective thing, the feeling of Star Wars. But I felt like this show really did that. We got to see enough planets. We got to see detail of some planets, especially Tatooine. We got to see how the everyday person lives. And that's the stuff that interests me in Star Wars. So I think it did really well in that aspect. But we're going to get into more of that during the course of the show. So, yeah, I guess any other initial thoughts before we start diving into it from either of you?
I think it was one of the things I'll say towards how everyone has responded to not just this show, but just really Star Wars in general since the acquisition, basically, like how it's been, right? Passion happens on both sides of the spectrum, in positivity and in anger. And the common ground is passion. Everyone at their core is passionate about this franchise, is passionate about Star Wars.
Yep.
And the way we express that sometimes gets overwhelmed in one side or the other. It's hard to be in the middle. I've had my times where I look, and I've kept them on my channel. I have some old videos on my channel and I refuse to remove them because that's how I felt at the time. I went in on the sequel trilogy, and you know my thoughts on it. We've talked about that and everything, but it's just like I've changed over time. Hey, Charlie. And it's okay for people to change and for your opinion to change. It's just how you express those feelings. I look at Star Wars. I actually mentioned this in a comment recently on another channel. And you've heard me say this before. From a certain point of view is the most important line in Star Wars to me. It defines the entire thing. It defines any fandom from a certain point of view. We all have a point of view. And I don't want everyone to agree with me. That would be incredibly boring. I don't want to disagree for the sake of disagreeing with someone. I want to hear the disagreement and I want to learn about that point of view. It intrigues me. I get interested. So that's where I think this fandom is very passionate, and sometimes it can sway, but overall I think we're all here for the same reason, and sometimes we meet in the middle, sometimes we don't.
Well, there was a turning point a couple months ago in my channel. I've been doing this for a year. There was a turning point a couple months ago where I kind of shifted from like, hey, let's talk about Star Wars to like, no, let's talk about Star Wars. Let's figure out why we feel certain ways. Why do we react to certain things, and why do certain things work and other things don't? And really, again, rationalizing our reasons for that instead of just blind emotion. And that's reflected in the tagline for this channel, which is the homeworld, again, playing off of Korriban. The homeworld for those that love the deeper, more philosophical aspects of the Star Wars universe. And reflecting on that opened my eyes to, with your edit of The Last Jedi, Matcave, there is a lot of good that I missed out on because I didn't want to see it in the sequel trilogy. Now, the theatrical releases I still don't like of the sequel trilogy. I don't think I ever will. But it opened my eyes.
They're arguably really bad.
Yes, they absolutely are. But what
and that's being nice.
It is. I'll agree with that. But with Matcave, what you opened my eyes to, Kyle Katarn, when I had him on my show, a couple other people in talking to them, there's a lot of good that I didn't get to enjoy in the theater, which is an experience I'll never get back. Watching those movies in the theater, whether good or bad movies, I never got to enjoy them in the theater, any part of them, because I was so focused on the hatred. And now looking back, I wanted to rationalize why I didn't like those movies and also find out if there was stuff that I did like. And I feel like a lot of people, especially the vehemently, aggressively, violent ones in response to Kenobi, were of that same mindset that I was, in that they're not open to enjoying anything about it. And so all they can do is hate.
Yeah. And with what I did with those films, I would never, hey, what's up, dude? I would never just assume that everyone should just have enough patience to go do and dig what I did. Like, I did that for me. That was simply for me. And then it kind of dawned on me. I was like, well, I have it and I did it.
Right.
I'll just share it out, see if anyone else wants to check it out. Like, but that was for me to find a different point of view, basically.
Mhm.
And to your point, like how like talking with Kyle Katarn and everything like that, like it's things like that, talking with people, talking with I'm talking with Hawks Holocrons, I'm talking with Star Wars Obsession, I'm talking with guys that were big into those films, and I'm like, you know what, there is something there. I would like to try to find it for myself
Underneath the pile of
underneath
rubbish
it.
on
Yeah,
top.
and it took work. It took a lot of effort and work, and I would never assume to be like, yeah, everybody just go do that. Like what I did was slightly insane, and
Mm.
but I don't know. It was
And I
something.
mean, for anyone in the chat, if you guys were in that watch party when we watched The Last Jedi Matcave edit, you'll know how much fun we had. We were in a separate Discord channel, just like, oh, this is awesome. Like, I didn't know this was in there. It was a lot of fun. But the theatrical release was buried under all that. And of course, we're getting sidetracked into talking about the sequels again, which is the usual course of things.
On that point, though, in comparison to Kenobi, now I'm on the flip side of it. I'm seeing all of the good that I saw in Kenobi.
Right.
And I'm curious about the bad, or quote unquote bad, what anyone would consider bad, right?
Yep.
So I'm on like kind of the flip side of it.
Well, I would love to have people on that are in that camp. Like X-Wing, I haven't really even talked to him in the last few weeks. Because I was kind of not wanting to get weighed down, so to speak. It sounds weird to talk about your friends like that. But it'd be interesting to talk to him and again try to find out rationally why they didn't like certain things. Because I have my own ideas about what they didn't like right now. But I'd love to get that all figured out. Let's say hello to Zax. Hello. I don't believe I've seen you here before. So here is a sip for you.
That's my boy. And,
awesome. Welcome.
I think he's headed towards like 2K.
Oh,
nice.
Congrats.
Yeah.
Congrats, dude. That's awesome.
He's got a great voice. Not like he's got a great voice like audio wise, but he's got something to say. I always like where he's coming from.
Awesome.
Am I entertained? That's it.
Yeah.
I can switch gears when the movie is a slow burn masterpiece film. I can like,
right.
I went into Northman thinking it was going to be Gladiator. And then within 10 minutes, I'm like, oh, no, they misrepresented this movie. I'm good. I quickly shifted my gears and I loved it, but I didn't feel good afterwards. It's a great film, so, obviously I'm entertained. Top Gun, Triple R. I was entertained more than I wasn't with Kenobi. And I'm wondering if it's just more of the box that they're working out of, this limited series. Some people just don't know how to write and direct limited series television. It's very difficult. It's really difficult. The more episodes you have, you're actually better off. And I'm watching this gentleman's this is off genre and stuff, but he did a television show and then he did a movie with Andy Garcia that's out. And I find that Andy Garcia movie, you could tell his television mind wouldn't quit because he's just trying to put in too much. It's like, yo, you got 90 minutes. So there's like, it's like, so that flip side is like, know your audience, know the format. It's tough. And you can tell the writer, was it Stanton? He came on for the last 2 episodes of Kenobi.
I don't recall.
This writer, he's the man who elevated that series, the last 2 episodes, because he's a TV writer, and it's a big difference, guys. So, am I entertained? Where am I going to theater? Where am I? What's going on?
That's kind of like how Father Time was when we were talking off air while he was out here for the week. He says, I enjoy the good and have a harder time remembering the bad parts since I dismiss them so quickly. And I could see that even in our reaction to the final episode that we did together. is I was thinking about some of the bad stuff because I'm looking at it analytically and how am I going to talk about this on a stream and that sort of stuff. And he was just enjoying it. And that's kind of how I wish I could, watch everything. And that gets into actually what the Star Wars Obsession was talking about right here. Do you believe the expectation of what people wanted is why they are so bitter about Kenobi? To an extent.
Yeah, there's definitely something to that, because I think that's actually slightly mixed. I think there were some people who had very specific expectations, and then I think there were people who they didn't know what they wanted, but they knew they didn't get what they wanted. Like, it was a weird thing that people kind of fell into. And something I wanted to point out on the topic of writing and how this kind of played out episodically, to Paulie's point, how those last 2 episodes were more of like bangers than the rest of it. This is my feelings on it, and my biggest issue with the show, which is honestly a minor issue in the grand scheme of things, was the fact that it was broken up into episodes. In my opinion, it was filmed as a movie, and then someone just went chop, 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 and just broke it up into parts. And I think the flow being interrupted hurt the show. So then me being nuts and diving into things and doing silly things for myself, so I have a way of watching it. I combined all 6 episodes into a seamless movie, and that's how I'll watch it going forward, just because it was a movie. But when people say, "Oh yeah, but the last 2 episodes were great," it was like, yeah, because you reached the climax of the movie. You reached the payoff.
and that has, that brings up a question. Are these mini series, these smaller, 6, 7, 8 episode series, is that hurting the product that they're putting out? Because I've heard a lot of people make the argument they should just dump these on one night. That way people can just binge them.
It depends, though.
God, I have strong opinions on that.
Oh, go for it.
Let me hear them.
Well, it goes back to like just where we're at as a society and how we consume, right? Where the last 10 years, or ever since House of Cards, and they started that on Netflix, it's been a instant gratification, Netflix and chill, binge. That's what everything's all about. There's something to be said about an appointment television where you're talking about it during the week with your friends, with other people online maybe, and you're getting ready for the next episode. That model, I'm hoping it keeps making a comeback. There's some networks that do that model and they're not going to change, and I really appreciate that. There's a comedy show that just dropped 10 episodes, and I binged it because I'm going to review it, but I was just like, man, this would have been great week after week.
Right.
Savor it a little more, yeah.
Savor these characters. Yeah. Because you lose what's the word I'm looking for? You don't gain like that
continuity.
No, the continuity is there. I mean, it either is or that. That's storytelling. You're attaching with the characters. They don't.
I meant continuity as far as like you, the viewer, in the same space going through it. You don't have time to process the episodes.
I'm talking about more of the connection that you start to have with the characters, and that is a ritual as well. It's completely different from a binge to a week by week.
Yeah. Right. And I think a big thing with that too is because I like both models. I don't mind waiting week to week. I actually prefer week to week. I like the excitement of anticipation for things like that. But it's the content style that I think is the biggest factor. So I was like, I was doing a whole like from beginning to end entire saga rewatch, everything, all the shows and everything, and I'm up to Mandalorian. I'm in season 2 again now.
Nice.
So rewatching Mandalorian, I realized what it was. Mandalorian truly was episodic. Every episode, other than a select few, maybe 3 or 4 episodes out of all 16, had a beginning, middle, and end to every episode, because it was shot as it was done as like serials, as you know, here's you got a little mini story going on, and then like any other series, you get the occasional carryover story arcs, right? Kenobi was ongoing, and there wasn't a payoff at the end of every episode. We got the payoff at the end of the last episode because it was the end of the movie. But there's other things too, like Stranger Things, for example. Incredibly popular. I really like the show. Netflix drops it all at once. They broke up this season this year. That's good. The second half will debut in a couple days. And I binged it over a couple of nights with my wife, and we really enjoyed it. But personally, I wouldn't have minded watching that week to week. Just, you know, really soak it in and think about what might be coming. I don't know. I think Paulie's right though. There is that level of, we as a society, we've kind of been spoiled with the binge watch opportunity. You know, it's like
there's something to be said about, you know, once a week, you know. I'm sorry, man. I'll cut you off.
I was gonna say I'd love to see, you know, the opposite of that as well with Matcave's edit, which I haven't watched yet, of just stitching them together. 3 hours and 50 minutes, was it?
3 hours and 50 minutes.
4 hours. That's 2 movies. That's crazy. I want to sit down and watch it all the way through and see how I feel about it. But it also is different now, because now that we have the ability to rewatch things, and with so much analysis on YouTube, it's not like it was 20 years ago where an episode would come out and you couldn't watch it again until you bought the DVD set at the end of the year or whatever.
Oh, I can go
and so
back
you only remember the good
for
parts.
Entertainment Tonight.
I don't know what that is.
Sorry, man.
It's a magazine show.
Yeah,
I still don't know what that is.
It's like a news format, but on entertainment topics.
Okay,
day,
I got
like
you.
What's new?
Yeah,
J-Lo's got her halftime movie going
Is it the one
on.
with like Norm McDonald was on there or something?
No, it actually takes itself seriously.
Yeah, this
actually takes itself seriously. So
okay, I have no idea what I'm talking about.
You're
we
missing
will
nothing.
skip over that. I gotta play some kind of a clip.
Oh, it is so good. That's not where it's really good.
I just had to play something. I don't know. Why did I click on that?
It's your show, homie. It's your show. I love it.
All right. Someone had a comment, if I can find it, and I think that sums it up pretty well, how I've been feeling about the other people. He says, you don't want to be happy, so you won't be. I feel like a lot of people were going into this show with that mindset. They put so much emphasis on this show is make or break for Lucasfilm. And they were leaning towards the break. They were assuming this was going to be bad. You know, and you also have your people that, you know, just want to watch the world burn. But I feel like a lot of people were like, they had such high standards that they didn't believe that it could meet any of their expectations. And so they went into it looking for it to be bad. And there's another channel that I follow, and I support the guy because he's an up and coming channel, but all of his videos were extremely negative all the way through. Like even after the first episode. And I thought to myself, like, how can you really have a formed opinion after the first episode? Because that's going to taint the way you watch the future episodes. And so I commented on one of his final things, just saying like, you got out of it what you wanted to see. That's all I said. I don't want to attack anything more than that, but I feel genuinely bad for those people that really didn't like it at all.
Yeah.
Because Zach says, what was that? That was my dad.
Yeah, it was Father Time.
But I feel like a lot of people were going into it looking for it to be bad. And really, like I said on Obsession Stream the other night, you could find anything to complain about. Like you could say, oh my gosh, the final line of the movie pretty much is hello there. They couldn't think of anything original. They had to copy the same line from like 2 other movies, and you could complain about that. But you know, I don't know.
About the dialogue?
Yeah, you can find anything to complain about.
Oh,
that was a cool throwback to, you know, the classic line that we expected the entire series. Fans like myself, Father Time, I'm sure Matcave, we loved that line. It wasn't really necessary, but it wasn't out of place, and we loved it. But you could find a way to complain about that if that's what you were looking to do.
okay, a few things. Whenever you put yourself out there, you've got to expect the opposite reaction. That's just yeah, you can't take that shit personal. Excuse me, sorry, you can't take it personal. Sorry about that, coffee. Donk. I'm an old man with a bad back, and I can't see well, and I can't hear very good. If you're another thing I want to say is if you're I call it your default setting, if it's set on if it's set a certain way, it's really hard to get to get out of it when you're trying to watch something that you once loved.
Yep.
You know, that's just it, man. That's just it. And you know, so that's one thing. But then if you're set like that and you got your strong opinions and then you come at us, how in the world can you have a civilized conversation without yelling at me? You know, me and Tom Conkle, you know, this filmmaker, writer who I've had on, we've been breaking it down. I ask him cinematic filmmaking questions when we're going through. We did Boba, we did Revenge of the Sith right before Kenobi. We did Kenobi. You know, we don't agree all the time, but the conversations are elevated. They're challenging for me, you know. But then we were talking about like maybe going on other channels or this is that, and he's like, "I just don't want to be yelled at."
Yeah,
that's where it gets tricky when you know we're putting ourselves out there in a public forum. You have to be pretty thick-skinned for stuff like this, you know. I don't take things personally if somebody doesn't agree with me, or you know, or there's things I get people give me crap for, like, you know, it's like it's fun though in a lot of ways. You know, my biggest fan is out there in the chat, Phil McCracken. He's my number one fan.
McCracken.
But we you know, it's like if I got all upset and couldn't handle even just and look like what like things Phil says and everything like that, it's like there are people who do like way worse things and mean it, and there are like some real hate things out there, right? It's like this is just kind of fun. We, you know, we banter and there's things like that, but there are some people though that will go into chats and chats are left to a lot of interpretation. Text is dangerous. There's no inflection. There's no emotion. There's nothing there. Your words are your words. Take it as you will. And it can get dangerous. But I've seen some pretty nasty things being said to people in these chats on a lot of live streams. And then, you know, sometimes the hosts or whoever's on the panel, they'll take it very personally. They'll get very upset, and I can't really blame them. We're all human beings, right? You know, somebody's attacking you, you know, in a way. It can get tricky, but being on a public forum and expressing your opinions, you do have to be pretty thick-skinned for this and be able to kind of roll with the punches. But at the end of the day, it's not about changing people's minds. It's just about opening eyes to different points of view. That's how I look at it. I'm not trying to change anyone's mind.
Well, okay, so let's challenge that, because each of us have channels that we run and we want to create community, right? So they get to know us, I get to know them, you know, and it makes the journey that we're doing just like a really enjoyable. Correct?
Yeah.
You guys with me?
Yep.
So if we go negative, or you know, it's not even going negative, but if we're honestly just being at, you know, this one way, they're going to be this one way with us. And then when we're not, it throws them off and they get really upset. Case in point, I was watching the Critical Drinkers interview yesterday with the directors of Miss Marvel, and boy, and I love Critical Drinker, and I really respect that he got these directors on, because, you know, I like having, you know, actors, writers, musicians on the show. His own chat, his own people went after him. with a vengeance, man.
Mhm.
Calling him a sellout. When are you going to
Wow.
ask them about the message? And they don't understand the nuances of having a real conversation with people who you
Mhm.
might have some strong disagreements with. You don't just go after them, dude.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, did he foster that with his chat? That's where I come back to you guys. What do you guys, it's like, what are we fostering in our own chats, in our own
Right.
communities? Because that's what I've been seeing, bro. And that's another reason why I came on here. Another reason why I like you, gentlemen. So those are just thoughts.
Yeah. No, you're spot on. There's a reason why people on social media type things like YouTube or Twitch or anything like that, there's a reason why they're called influencers, even small channels,
Mhm.
because you're presenting an idea, you're presenting an opinion, and you, like you said, you're building a community, and a lot of times with things like this, obviously people that join a community are going to be somewhat like-minded. And then if you do stray from that, yes, you're right, it throws people off, and they can kind of not know what to do with it. And sometimes that's where some anger and things like that can happen, like what you just said happened to Critical Drinker. And that's unfortunate, because
Right.
he was trying to have an opinion about something and learn something from someone else, and it gets tricky like that. But yes, no matter how large or small your channel is, if you're on this platform, you are an influencer in one way or another. And it's tricky, because we're putting on a show, right? But we're also us. Like, there's plenty of people that the whole thing is an act, and there's a whole character and things like that. That's one thing. That's all
Mhm.
well and good, right? But when we're up here and we're just hanging out and we're talking about opinions, right? It's a little different. That's where people can take things a little more personally. Um, I don't know. I don't think
Well,
that's something that'll ever change, though.
well, that's why I wanted to, you know, whether I'm happy or critical of any product that Disney Star Wars gives us, I want to be rational about it. That's the whole point, and kind of where I'm starting to put the focus of my channel is let's talk about it and let's figure out why. Let's not just yell and scream, because I could heap on the praises of Kenobi all I want, but I wouldn't be true to how my brain works. That's not how I think about things. I want to figure out, okay, why did that resonate so well in that last episode? Why did episode 2 not land for me? That sort of stuff.
Yeah.
And hopefully my fans recognize that, and the kind of community that I've built here, they recognize, like, we are the more high-minded nerds when it comes to Star Wars. We're not just screaming about TIE fighters and stuff. And I'm not even close to the biggest nerd as far as knowing the stuff in the universe, but we can have discussions and talk. The whole starting of this channel was like, sit down, have a cup of coffee, and we'll talk about Star Wars. And hopefully my fans, come alongside the channel when I go through that process, whether I like a show or not. Even posting this stream with the thumbnail with the Shillionaire and whatever, I lost 2 subs just from posting the thumbnail for this stream. And okay, cool. But then I've also had, probably a half dozen other people DM me in Discord and say, like, hey, I really appreciate you being positive, because there's so many channels that I used to watch regularly that I just can't right now. And I'm not trying to be overly positive. I'm trying to be reasonable, if you get what I mean. So,
yep.
I will always give my viewers, honesty and how I genuinely feel, and rationality and common sense. But what does that even mean anymore?
There'll be none of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and also, and in going, I guess what I'm trying to say is that also too, we're talking about, oh, my dogs are going off. We're talking about, shill this, shill that. I mean, this one cat in that chat from last week was relentless. Like I said, they were just saying that Polly has an office next to Kathleen Kennedy. You know,
Oh wait, Paul, I gotta stop you real quick.
yeah.
Matcave, are you a Disney shill?
I'm gonna embarrass myself right now. I don't even know the actual definition of that word. I've never bothered to look it up.
I don't either.
know what it means.
I just know I've been called it a few times.
I've been called
Ollie,
it. I have.
are
no
you on
idea
the
what it is.
payroll of Lucasfilm?
Absolutely not. But a shill is an accomplice of a hawker, gambler, a swindler who acts as an enthusiastic customer to entice or encourage others.
Oh,
An act to work as a shill. Oh, so a
Okay.
shill is actually part of the whole gambling.
so we could call the channels that spew hatred shills for the dark side.
Well, they have there's names for everything, but
Oh, no.
you know,
I thought it had a good little stinger. I don't know.
Who wants to lick the batter?
oh, your poor dad.
I don't know.
Oh, I love it.
He was making his Hoth froth coffee
Oh my
drink.
god.
And I was just recording, and he was just going crazy with like all the stuff he was saying.
Surprise! Bantha.
That I watched those string of videos, but now watching those clips
So weird.
for anyone who has no context for that, that's fantastic.
My dad is awesome.
He really is.
Yeah, I like him. I like him. It's like, hey, we got to do it. We have to do a live stream with your pops.
Yes, definitely.
I
He's
think
down.
I think actually me and your dad are probably around the same age.
Probably.
Yeah.
Probably. But he said he was down. I mentioned it to him the other day.
Yeah.
He's like,
Your
"Yep, let
pleasure.
me know when." So that would be awesome. Oh, let me consult my show notes. Does this show break canon? Because I think that's a point of contention for a lot of people, and a lot of people are getting hung up on it. It destroys canon. Does it?
I don't think that it does, although I'm trying and I can't for the life of me remember it right now.
It bends our previous understanding of certain aspects of canon.
Well, I don't even think it does that. Because I was
I'll give
rewatching-
you an example. I'll give you an example. A presence I haven't felt since. The previous understanding was that line was since our duel on Mustafar.
Yes.
There's nothing official that said, 19 years ago is when I last felt this presence. But people assumed that. And that's a dangerous position when your fans assume something that wasn't explicitly stated and you have creative license to modify that. So I think a lot of people were thrown off by that, but actually breaking canon, I don't think so.
No, that doesn't, like you said, I wouldn't even say it bends it. It's just, it's working within the space that it was given. We were given how many years to work with. There's a lot that can happen. And one of the things that I think even strengthened the canon was Ben's later lines talking to Luke saying he's more machine now than man. That section became even more powerful to me after watching them fight in the last episode. And when Kenobi went after his mechanics, it was like, wow. I was like, when Kenobi started hitting his chest plate and breaking Vader, I was like, that the first thing I thought of was that talk Ben was having with Luke in Return of the Jedi.
Because he knows firsthand. And he's seen it. He knows. And I think that's why he had mercy on him and didn't, whether it was mercy or pity or whatever, he didn't just chop his head off when Vader could barely stand. Was because there's nothing left. The dark side has corrupted the physical part of you. And it's just encapsulated by metal and Durasteel and plastoid. Like there's nothing in there anymore. And so he knows that firsthand when he's talking to Luke. And I think this show wrapped itself up extremely well. There's a couple points that Father Time and I had going into the finale that we had our little boxes and we wanted them to check all those little boxes, and it did so better than I expected.
So, I just remembered the point someone made that I was kind of like, actually, you do have a point right there. The one point that, and maybe someone can explain this to me, it doesn't bother me like really, but it is a little bit of a plot hole. Is in that same conversation, Return of the Jedi, Obi-Wan's telling Luke, we hid both of you when you were born. We hid you both from your father when you were born. But Kenobi now doesn't know that Anakin was still alive until Reva tells him. That seems to be the only, I guess, for lack of a better word, broken point that I'm aware of. But at the same time, I'm like, that didn't ruin the show for me or anything like that.
Right.
It was just
that's a very small thing to get caught up on, and there's explanations for that from a certain point of view. We hid you from your father. What was your father? Darth Vader, the Emperor, the Empire as a whole. We had to hide you as a child. Like, it's a small thing to get caught up on. And one thing that I noticed, I think the line is, when I left you, I was but the learner. Is it left you, or when I last?
When I left you, I was the learner. Now I'm the master.
Right,
When
and you could say
him, it's a very specific moment.
Right, but you could say Kenobi left Vader. Vader didn't leave Kenobi.
If I could say a few words as the old timer here who's seen every movie when they came out in the movie theater, and now all this. Let's be honest. They had no idea that these television shows and everything were going to be done. This is the hardest thing to do. Hey, write a story about these characters, but you can't. This is as far as you can go because we all know what's going to happen. It's incredibly difficult, right?
Oh yeah.
So yeah, of course they broke canon a little bit here and there, bend this, bend that, especially to the Star Wars fans that are by the book, and not they're not going to take dialogue or take intonation of how they were done in 1977 or 1980.
Yeah.
You can't convince them, right?
You're still right. Yeah.
Right. But I say, so what?
Yep.
If it ruins it, then it's on them. If they were able to entertain us, pull it off, it's like, all right, that's cool. That's cool. I want to see more Darth. Who does not want to see more Darth Vader? Yeah.
Oh, I definitely do.
Yeah, man.
He says, when I left you, I was but the learner. Now I am the master. And I just realized there's nothing in that line that says the last time we fought. Because he could be talking about Mustafar then. When I left you in the Jedi Order, I was a Padawan. The Anakin that that you're fighting with is not the one you're fighting with right now. I've learned so much since we were last together.
The scene I actually, in my own personal interpretation of it, when he left him, what he's referring to, for me, is the moment in Revenge of the Sith when Anakin and Obi-Wan say goodbye to each other.
Yep,
the last time they're friends. Obi-Wan's going to Utapau, Anakin's staying, doing whatever. It's because they don't meet again until he's Vader. Still
that's
not.
Why Revenge of the Sith is so wonderful. Because
Revenge of the Sith is
that's arguably Lucas's best directorial job with the Star Wars film. And the way it wrapped it up, you don't need any other story. That's a different argument, right? We don't need this show, but in our headspace, we want to see more.
Yep. It fit well enough to warrant its own existence, in my mind.
Yeah. Were you entertained? That's all.
Yes,
I cried. Yeah. There was some. I know. I saw the close up that you did of yourself.
yeah. Just zooming in. I'm like,
the zoom in. That was legit. That was legit. That's probably one of there's of Disney Star Wars. That's probably top 5 moments for them. Like Skywalker appearing, Gorgu, whatever. And that moment where Anakin's talking to Ben, you're just like, oh my god.
And I've got a couple little things written down here about that scene. In particular, the first time I watched that scene where he has the mask off and he says the line, Anakin's you didn't kill Anakin Skywalker, I did. The first time I watched that, I didn't really think too much into it. The second time I watched it, I looked at his eyes and his smile, and I thought, he's crazy. Anakin is psycho in there. The third time I watched it, he was convincing himself that he was crazy. But there was such a pain in his eyes. And it's crazy that we see this much of his face and we get that much emotion from it.
Beautiful.
It was
Did
beautiful.
you see his eye changing?
Beautiful, man.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of us that are that think the same way in the chat, in my chats and other chats, that enjoy the show. Does that make us a shill? Absolutely not. You know, that it's entertainment. I do have to run, but I want to say is for every person that loves the Beatles White Album, you're always going to find that person that hates it. That's the way it is. That's the way it is.
It's true.
It's true, man. Even if it was a masterpiece, you know. But
absolutely.
I gotta go, sir. I have to start my stream in 5 minutes.
Definitely.
I will be covering some new stuff coming out of Indian cinema. So I'm really excited to talk about that.
And for anyone that is not, anyone from my channel, from my subscriber base that is not subscribed to the Latino Slant, I just put the link in the chat. Please give them a subscription because, again, it costs you nothing. But to us, it means a whole lot. So go ahead and do that.
Let's do this again. Let's make a date and come on my channel.
All right. Well, thank you very much for stopping by. I greatly appreciate it. Let me play your stinger out, and I'll see you wherever I happen to see you in the galaxy.
Why are you here?
So awesome.
I'm trying to make it more like a show.
I
Can
love
you tell?
it. Dude, these clips are great, man. I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
All right. Well, we don't have too much longer, but I wanted to talk a little bit more about that emotional confrontation between the two of them. And let me send a quick invite to someone else who I don't have a stinger for. But yeah, just talk about how that moment hit you. Just their confrontation and when it turns from physical to emotional.
That moment was, I mean, that was top-notch acting on both parts. Ewan McGregor and Hayden Christensen knocked it out of the park in that moment. I think what made it so emotional for me is because I was getting hit by nostalgia from both the original trilogy, from three things. Sorry, original trilogy, prequels, and then the fight between Vader and Ahsoka in Rebels. It was a lot of poetry there with that. Somebody posted it was like a picture and they put a quote thing on there. I forget who posted it, but it was Vader had that side of his mask chopped off by Obi-Wan. Ahsoka cut off the other
side.
And they said something like the only one who was truly able to remove Vader from Anakin was Luke.
Yep.
And it was such a beautiful thing they put together. I forget who posted that. It was really well done.
It was one of the bigger channels, wasn't it?
I think so. Yeah. I remember seeing it pop up in the feed, and then it popped up on Twitter too. And I was like, wow, that's actually really beautiful. But it had so much emotion in there.
The line that destroyed me, and you'll see it in the reaction. I didn't, tears weren't coming down my face, but the line that really hit me was, "I'm sorry. I'm sorry for all of it." Like everything bad that happened to him, Padme not becoming a master, he doesn't know about his children, but Obi-Wan does. Everything, him losing his legs, the fall of the Jedi Order, the fall of the light side of the Force, basically. He's apologizing because he feels responsible for all of that. And then Vader comes back with the line of, "You didn't kill Anakin Skywalker. I did." And then, the beautiful line, "Then my friend is truly dead," which mirrors Luke's, "Then my father is truly dead." Beautiful. I didn't catch that till the second watch, but it was great.
It's so nice.
But that whole back and forth was so beautifully done. And again, the emotion on you're only seeing that much of a face, but it was just so good. It hit so hard. And I really am sad for people that, only made it 2 episodes in because they missed that.
I missed that. Yeah. And that's
It
why
was
I'm
so
saying,
good.
like, when you get the chance, do the binge watch, because it's when you reach that moment, you've been through this build up to it again. Like it's a different feel. And but when you get these moments with these two characters that we all love, and I know a lot of people were so upset and concerned about them being anywhere near each other to begin with. Meanwhile, in the same breath, they complain that it wasn't just the two of them in the show, which is weird. It's like you can't have it both ways, but whatever.
Right.
It when it got time to have them on screen together, those moments counted. And not even just that last episode. What was it?
The
The third
training
episode?
scene.
Oh, the training scene was
Mhm.
wonderful. I loved the back and forth in that episode where you were basically getting the moral of the story. Like it was like this, it was a lesson throughout. I loved how
And
episode
that
was.
stuck with the audience through the last couple episodes.
Yeah.
That as well. He's so thirsty for vengeance and to the need to win that he's blind to everything else.
Oh yeah.
And it was just, there is so much in this show. The more you dig, and that's why I said earlier, the more I think about this show, the more I really love it.
Yeah.
I really liked it to begin with, but now that we've got this finale episode and all the points that it hit, it's just so good. I got to watch it over again. And the thing that the way you can tell that it was a really good show from a Star Wars standpoint, not just a television standpoint, was the first thing I said after the show ended. After we finished our review and our wrap up, I looked at my dad and I said, "We got to watch A New Hope. We have to." Like that's how you know. If finishing that gives you such an urge to go back to where Star Wars started, it's got to be good, right?
Yeah.
Does that make me a shill? I don't think so.
I don't know. You know what it made? Like I did jump right into A New Hope after the fact because I was just getting all these feels and everything. But actually, one of the things I'm looking forward to rewatching again is Rebels. Certain moments, certain episodes throughout the seasons, because they carry more weight now. Even with the Inquisitors, it's.
I loved the Grand Inquisitor in this show, by the way.
I thought he did a fantastic job. I thought his performance was great. And then it hit me the other day, and I said this like half jokingly, but not joking. It was, everyone was when the teaser came out, everyone was complaining about how round his face was and how big his head was. But he lost one stomach. So by the time we see him in Rebels, he's gonna slim down. He's gonna lose weight.
That's
if you
so
lost
true.
half your stomach, you're gonna slim down.
Yeah, that's pretty funny. I guess to finish up the show tonight, let's talk about how Kenobi wrapped itself up and a lot of the questions we had. And this kind of piggybacks off of what we were talking earlier about it breaking canon, which I don't think it does. It changes the way we thought about certain aspects of canon, but I don't think it destroys canon like a lot of people are claiming. So one of those things that they wrapped up in this the finale episode was, why doesn't Leia know Obi-Wan in her message in A New Hope? That was a question a lot of people had of like, oh, well, if he saved her life and they went on this adventure together, wouldn't she be like, oh, hey, remember me, that kid you saved a while ago? Why did she address him as, years ago, you served my father in the Clone Wars? But they explained that by him saying it would be dangerous for us if they found out that we knew each other.
Yeah, if there was any connection to it. And honestly, that, and I was talking about this the other day with Obsession, was that message itself. I got teared up listening to that message in A New Hope because of the weight that's with it now. Oh yeah, just absolutely, dude.
Hello.
If you watch that message, it's basically two parts to that message. She does her, I'm a politician, I'm doing this professionally, I'm getting the message out there, we're sending out a message, like this is the political side of it. Years ago, you served my father in the Clone Wars, blah, 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 all this. Her tone then changes when she says, help me,
Help me,
Obi-Wan
Obi-Wan.
Kenobi. You're my only
Yep.
hope. That now, when she says that, I'm always going to think about this show.
That's
That
amazing.
was her relationship with him. And then later, because a lot of people I know, I don't even know why people had a problem with this. I still don't understand it. People complained about her knowing both names, Ben and Obi-Wan. I have no idea why there was an argument there. Whatever.
Nope.
She knew both names. And then
That's like me knowing you as Matt and also Matcave.
yeah,
It's like
it doesn't make any sense. But the thing that I'm like, I don't know why there's a problem, because you just go watch A New Hope. She says both names. She refers to him as General Kenobi in the message.
Yep.
Doesn't say Ben in there. And when Luke shows up and says, I'm here with Ben Kenobi, you see her light up. Again, another moment that has more weight to it. She's like,
Yep.
Ben Kenobi, where? Like,
Yeah.
And then Luke, after Ben is down, Leia's very much like Padme. She will do her duty. She will get the mission done. And she's consoling Luke, but at the same time, it's like, we gotta go. We have to keep moving.
And also, she's been a part of this rebellion for a while. She's probably used to people dying around her.
Yeah.
I don't think that would have hit her as hard as a lot of people would assume.
Especially think about an adult you knew when you were 10 years old and then have not seen them until you're 40. Like, or whatever. Like, anyway, like, just think about, like, in real, it's like, how much of a memory do you really like? It's different, She knew him as a child.
It's the uncle you saw one time that saved you from drowning at a pool party.
Yeah, exactly. All these years later, it's I don't know. I don't think anything is broken. I think if anything, I think A New Hope especially is strengthened by this, because it added weight to these relationships.
Here's a question. Did you ever doubt that the little girl we saw on screen was Princess Leia?
No, I thought she did great.
I didn't either.
It was so funny. A quick funny story about that. So we're watching the show, me and my wife, and I'm like, oh, she's doing a really good job. She reminds me of the little girl from a superhero movie we watched with the kids on Netflix that actually Pedro Pascal is in. And there's a little girl named Guppy, has water powers and stuff. And my wife goes, that's her. I'm like, oh,
that's funny.
But
that's so
I
funny.
thought she did a really nice job.
There was some really, really quality moments between her and Ewan McGregor. And one of my favorite scenes in the movie was earlier on when she asks, what does the Force feel like? He says, the whole thing about, like, have you ever been afraid of the dark? How does it feel when you turn on the light? I feel safe. Yes, it feels like that. And it's a brilliant way to explain that to a child. And at the same time, you see the despair on his face because he doesn't have that. He is scared of the dark at that moment. It's so powerful. And then going on to whatever. Oh, where was it? There was a chat that said at the end, when he's saying, you have these qualities from your mother and these qualities from your father. Beautiful. I've seen that so many times, but only applied to Luke in videos and memes and stuff and whatever, talking about how Luke is a perfect balance between Padme and Anakin. But I've never heard anyone make that comparison or that, display for Leia. And it was so beautifully done. And that made me want to cry as well, just because he's in so much pain, but that's cathartic for him to get that off of his chest and saying, like, look, I knew your parents. You are them. This is all I can tell you. It was so good.
When she asked him if he was her father, I was like, oh my God, what are you doing to me right now? I was like, it's like she was so perceptive I mean, when just think about the line when she says to him, like he's like trying to walk away from him. She's like, "You think you're hiding everything by not saying anything, but you're actually just like showing all your cards." Like she's so in
Leia.
tune with what's going on, right? She's Leia.
It's,
That's how Leia
it's
is.
so good.
She's so Leia.
Yep. They killed it with the casting for that.
Yeah.
And the screenplay and the directing for all of that. They did so well. Let's see, another loose end that they tied up really well is a presence I haven't felt since. Because the Emperor, not only does Ian McDiarmid show up, but he tells Vader, I wonder if your thoughts on this are clear, Lord Vader. He tells him, don't think about this. Don't think about your old master. I dare you. Are you still Anakin or are you Darth Vader? Because you serve me now. You don't serve some Jedi hermit on Tatooine. And so, of course, Vader has tried to not think about him, not hunt him, not pursue him for the last 10 years or so. 9 or 10 years. And so finally, when he gets a chance, presence I haven't felt since.
Yeah.
I gotta go. I gotta go. I gotta get him.
You see him, how eager he is in A New Hope to go after Kenobi again, because he has not attempted to do that this entire time. Because the Emperor was like, listen, man, you get your ducks in a row, pal, because otherwise we're going to have words.
Yep.
It's just, and the fact that they got Ian McDiarmid back and the makeup on him was so in tune with OT.
Exactly.
It was straight away from the I don't even know how to describe the thicker look to it in the prequel, right?
A little bit more rubbery-ish.
Yeah. Because by the time you see him in Return of the Jedi, it's like his face looks very thin. The skin is like almost like paper on him. Like it's very thin.
Well, he's super old at that time.
Oh yeah, he's incredibly
like 90 or
old
something
at that point. Yeah. I think he's higher than that. He's like
100, 110
he's
plus
got to be
or something.
triple digits. Yeah, he's somewhere up there because keeping himself alive with all these dark side whatevers. But the casting was great. I really liked Tarla. I didn't see that coming, her being a rebellion spy in the Empire. I thought that was a nice little twist there when she took out the stormtroopers.
And they didn't have any stupid I'm the rebel spy reveal.
It's just like it worked, and her explaining the path to Obi-Wan and what's been going on. It just,
and I thought that was a brilliant setup for Andor.
Yes.
Because
speaking of that,
guaranteed we're gonna get Roken in Andor.
I was just gonna say it. Yes, Roken. When he said I'm just getting started, I'm like, Roken will be in Andor.
And Obi-Wan says to him, like there's very few leaders left. The people need you. They follow you. We're gonna see him in Andor.
100%.
We're gonna see him in Andor, and between him and all, maybe even Haja coming up again, just they set a little bit of the foundation for Andor, so that people go into that and they're not so lost, not knowing anyone, which I thought was really cool.
Yeah,
I'm hyped for Andor still.
I'll quote Obsession again and say that's the sleeping giant right now. That's the one that I don't think people are going to realize how good of Star Wars we're about to get, because that's going to be really Empire centric. It's going to be dark. It's going to have that gritty original trilogy tone. And
you saw the gritty original trilogy tone as well. But you saw the trailer. It's a perfect blend between Rogue One and prequels.
Yeah, it's a prequel to a prequel. It's crazy.
It's so good.
It's an in between.
The trailer was brilliant. I got so many prequel vibes in the design of the buildings and those long sweeping shots. The action, the running in the streets, the explosions was straight out of Rogue One. It felt really good. But we're getting on a bunny trail.
Sorry.
Another thing that they wrapped up really well was just the quotes, the tie-ins, the I will do what I must. A little bit cheesy, but it was very welcome from my end. Then you will die, which is straight from Rebels.
Mm-hmm.
All the other quotes, him calling him Darth, is a nod to just like, this is the life you've chosen.
Yep.
That you're a Darth now. That you're an agent of the dark side. That's all you are. You are not Darth Vader. You are just one of the Siths. That's all you are at this point. It was really cool how they tied that in, because I always felt that was a little bit of a cheesy line looking back on it now in A New Hope. Only a master of evil, Darth. I always thought that was a little cheesy, as if his first name was Darth. But now knowing that that's almost like an insult makes a whole lot more sense.
That's the thing. It carries more weight again. Like I said before, it strengthened the original film.
In the same
that
way
was the
that the
moment that
prequels
Kenobi
did.
let go. That's when he was just like, you know what it was? That's the moment Kenobi was then truly able to be open to see Qui-Gon, because he let go of his fear. He let go of everything he was attached to, and was able to move forward. I mean, it had so many little moments like that, and that's what makes the rewatch so amazing, because whenever you rewatch something, you're paying attention to all the little things at that point. There's one thing though that I'm a little disappointed about, but I want to go and just get it and listen to it, because I want to try to find these moments. The soundtrack didn't really do it for me. Like, the soundtrack didn't stand out to me like others have. I didn't hate it. Like, there was nothing where I was like, oh, that sounds weird. Like, it wasn't like, it didn't have an impact on me. But I know there's a theme song in there, and I couldn't for the life of me tell you what it sounds like.
Well, I saw another video that was talking about the score, and it was saying all through the series we've gotten bits and pieces of Padme's theme, of Leia's theme, of I don't know if it was Duel of the Fates, Imperial March, like all these things we're familiar with, but they only played the first few notes of each of those, and then it went off on a slightly different path. So it was familiar but not comfortable. And it wasn't until the very last episode where we got the full Leia theme at the very end, the full Imperial March with Darth Vader. And it really wrapped everything up. So from that standpoint, I can greatly appreciate it. I didn't honestly think about the score too much while I was watching it. I'd probably have to rewatch the whole thing with your smushed together edit.
It was just that was really an afterthought, like with me. I was just kind of like, because you know how like you come out of like Phantom Menace and you're like, Duel of the Fates, like you know the name of the song.
Yep.
You know,
or Revenge of the Sith, Anakin's Dark Deeds.
Yeah,
that's I listen to that a lot from time to time.
It just did, like, that was one thing where like it really didn't stand out to me, but not to say that was bad. Like, it didn't hurt anything for me. It just, I didn't have that moment. Like in the sequel trilogy, the only song that stood out to me was Rey's theme. That was the only one. Everything else was just kind of, there's music. I was like, okay.
Right.
But yeah, overall though.
Yes, absolutely.
Oh, Across the Stars was great. That was, again, another one that back in the day, if I say TRL, do you know what I'm talking about?
The real, I don't know.
Total Request Live.
Nope.
Oh man, I'm such an old man. Back in the day, there was a show that would play music videos. It was on MTV. It was a top 10 every day, and people would vote on them and everything that, you know, would come out. Well, there was a day where Duel of the Fates, the music video, came out, and Duel of the Fates played all day long on MTV.
That's cool.
Yeah. And then 3 years later, Across the Stars did the same thing.
That's cool.
So there are days where MTV played Star Wars all day long.
All day. That's sick. I did not know that. I wish I was in the loop at that time.
Oh, yeah. It's a day long remembered.
All right. Well, we got two little scenes I wanted to talk about, and we'll wrap it up. The first one being, oh my gosh, what was it? I just had it, and I forgot to write it in my show notes.
Sorry, I went off on a tangent.
Okay, it was when he's talking to Qui-Gon when Qui-Gon's not there yet, and he's saying like it comes down to this: one of us has to die today. I thought that was great, and he was absolutely correct. But the person that died was what Obi-Wan was holding on to of Anakin. He had to accept that Anakin was dead at that point. He was holding on to, I don't even know if it was hope, but just the idea of Anakin Skywalker.
Yeah.
That's what died after their duel, which is how he didn't have to kill Vader. He just left.
Yeah.
I thought that was a really potent scene.
Oh yeah. If Kenobi didn't kind of snap out of that, because we got crazy powerful Obi-Wan Kenobi in that fight, which was awesome. But that was him coming to terms with I'm going to kill him. I'm going to kill Anakin. Like that's
which for a defensive
yeah.
practitioner, that is not a spot that he's comfortable with.
Yeah. And then you see the switch flip. You see him go back to his normal self. And that's when we get the moment of I'm sorry and everything. Like it just, oh man. So I don't know how anyone can not like that moment. It's just so good.
Again, it's people that went into this entire series expecting to hate it. That's all they saw. They didn't enjoy any of those little moments. And then the last scene I wanted to talk about was Qui-Gon finally showing up, which I freaked out. I'd been saying Qui-Gon the entire series, but I thought that the way they did it with him finally being able to be visible to Obi-Wan at the very end was a better way than what I had hoped for, in that he would talk to Qui-Gon and get back on the right track and then confront Vader. I'm glad they did it the way they did.
Yeah, it was such a small moment. I know that immediately drew in complaints from people. But that sometimes the smallest moments in a show or a movie can be the most powerful.
Yeah.
That didn't need to be a drawn out scene. We knew where that was going. We knew what's about to happen. Like he's with his old master now. He's gonna find comfort. He's gonna find more training in a sense. Obi-Wan's gonna learn how to become one with the Force.
Yep.
And
I said the entire time I needed to see Qui-Gon. First off, we knew he was going to be broken, and I really like the version of broken Obi-Wan that we got, but we needed to see how he got from there to the at peace Jedi Master old Ben Kenobi that we see in A New Hope. How did he get from here to there? I think they nailed it. I think they nailed it.
Yeah. It was, oh man. And I don't know if you saw any interviews leading up to this show with Liam Neeson, because he's had a whole bunch of other projects.
Not with Liam Neeson, no.
He's flat out was like, I'm not in this. Like he was just like, there was even an interview a lot of people reference in regards to that, because he was like, I don't do television. He's like, and he kind of jokes like about himself. He's like, I'm a little bit of a snob when it comes to it. I like to be in films. I like to do this, obviously he knew he was in this
10 seconds,
but man, did he go in hard on the I am not in this show. Like,
wow. And it
but
wasn't leaked.
It wasn't leaked.
The leaks were wrong.
Here's the thing about, I'll say this real quick. I know this can potentially go off on a tangent, but I won't let it. Anything leaking about Star Wars, if anything was leaked, I feel like it was on purpose. Because how do you hide Luke Skywalker? And then suddenly you're leaking something about, and apparently, here's the thing.
I said that a couple months ago.
I've heard a lot of these leaks that came out that everyone was waiting for were wrong. I couldn't say either way because I didn't check any. I didn't do any of the leaks before the show came out. Yes, Ian McDermott denied it as well, in a roundabout way too. He was just kind of like, "Will I physically be there?" I don't know. Like it was kind of an interesting way he did that. These actors have a really tough job over these years because this is years in the making, right?
Yeah,
they have. Think about Ewan McGregor, what he went through.
Yeah.
of saying no, I'm not. If they call me, great, we'll do something. Meanwhile, he's already filmed it. It's like a poor guy.
I was just gonna play that. You set me up. I was gonna wrap up by saying, like, well, with Kenobi done and Andor on the horizon.
Oh, it is so good. That's not where it's really good.
Dude, you need to keep those clips forever and just
yes,
the
they're
random
so good.
moments.
Who wants to lick the batter?
That one.
I was just filming, and I was like, just I'll edit it later. Just make your coffee and talk about what you're doing and the process and stuff. And that's what the result was. But all right, well, we're gonna wrap it up. I think it is not hidden that I liked, dare I say, even loved this series. Does that make me a Disney shill? I don't think so. I'm not getting paid by Disney. I'm not trying to get anything special. And I do have my problems with this series as a whole. But I had a lot of fun. And there's so many emotional moments in the last 3, specifically the last episode, that really hit hard. And the rewatchability is there. More so even than The Mandalorian for me. I'll go back and watch this series again. Which
Absolutely.
I'm looking forward to that full edit that you made.
Yeah, go for it. I mean,
So-
it's definitely worth a watch. I recommend it to anyone. I mean, even to anyone who obviously doesn't have a copy of it. Just hit skip on the intros as fast as you possibly can while watching it on Disney Plus, and then just get right into it. It's worth a rewatch, and I look forward to having this now part of my from beginning to end rewatches of the entire saga.
Awesome. Well, I really hope you guys enjoyed Kenobi as much as I did, but shilling hate.
Sure, it's fun.
Either way, thank you guys for watching the stream. If you've been here from the very beginning of the show, I really appreciate your time. May the stash be with you, and I will see you wherever I happen to see you in the galaxy.